All right, we're going to work on domain and range. So here's a graph. Remember, domain is your x values and range is your y values. So we have this graph that looks like this, and we want to find out what is the domain and range. So the domain is going to be all the values on your x-axis. So if we look, all of these numbers hold true between -4 to 2. So we can use set builder notation. It says x is greater than or equal to -2 and less than or equal to 2. You can also write it like this, just as a compound inequality. The other notation is called interval notation. Interval notation focuses on brackets and parentheses. So if it's a bracket, it's going to include the number. If it's a parentheses, it does not include that number. So our interval notation, includes -4, it includes 2. So our interval notation looks like that. All right, the other part is identifying the range. So your range are going to be your y values. So here's your y-axis, and the values that exist for y order pairs is anything from 1 to 4. So we could use that set builder notation. Y is greater than or equal to 1 and less than or equal to 4. You can also write it as a compound inequality like this. As an interval notation, it includes 1 and includes 4, all those numbers between 1 and 4. So here's an example we'll do together. So if you want to pause and try it yourself. So let's start with the domain. So what I tell students to do is, here's your x-axis, is to create vertical lines for the x and focus on between those lines. So between those lines is -2 and +1. It does include -2, it does include 1. So we'll just do interval notation. It starts at -2 and stops at 1. We always go smallest to largest. Now I'm just going to go ahead and delete those yellow lines. And now I'm going to do the y-axis. So I'm going to go on the horizontal and focus on those numbers. All right, so for our y, it starts at 0 and then it stops at 3. These are the numbers that work. So includes 0 and includes 3. Again, this is interval notation. Let's do another one. So we'll start with domain, the x, and we'll create our horizontal or our vertical lines. So we have -2 to 1. So it starts at -2 and it stops at 1. And look at this open circle right here. That does not include 1. So we have to say that is going to be a parentheses notation because it cannot include 1. All right, I'm going to delete out those yellow lines and move on to the range, the y values. So we create our horizontal line, the lowest it goes and the highest it goes. So the lowest it goes on the y-axis is 1 and the highest is 5. Let's do another one. So do the x-axis first. So I'm going to create that vertical line. And now notice over here, this does not stop. It goes on forever. So we can't create a vertical line here. So how we say this on this domain is it starts over here, starts over here at negative infinity. It's always smallest to largest, and then it stops at 4. All right, bleed out my yellow lines. Move on to my domain, or my range, excuse me. Horizontal line, and again, this does not stop. So our smallest number is at 0, and then our largest number keeps going up and up and up and up and up. It gets positive. So 0 to positive infinity. We'll stop there.